Welcome to the flip side, y'all. I'm your host, Brian Hesson, and this is a show about millennials talking about social issues. We're going to give it to you here in a second, but let me tell you the guests. I have Jace, I have Reagan, Marquin, Brandon, and Brian. And today, we're going to talk about something pretty controversial, but white privilege. Does it exist, or is it something different? A different definition? We're going to find out shortly.
God bless the United States of America.
White privilege. Does it exist? I thought about it a couple days ago, thinking about exactly what it is culturally, politically. This is my first question because I really want this. I want this on the table. Is it white privilege or is it class privilege? That's the biggest thing.
I think that's a big distinction to make.
Huge distinction.
Because if you really want to talk about class privilege, Asian Americans are actually the most per capita household. Like, it's not even white. Like, per capita household. Right. Like, Asian American families, they're the most wealthy families in America. Exactly. And so I think that's the distinction to make, is it's not as much a white privilege thing as it is a class privilege thing.
Financially, that is correct. I'm talking about is if there's any social privileges that white person has, and when I thought about it, is it because possibly white people are the majority in this country, so they get the benefit of the doubt? Okay, possibly. And I feel like that pushes the agenda of people who are saying that white privilege is a real thing, and they might get it muddied because they think because of your skin, that's the reason why. That's the sole reason why you have privilege.
The issue with white privilege is I feel like there's a lot of issues where people bring up white privilege where I could think of several other elements that actually add into the making of that. So, like, for instance, like when you get a job and people say, oh, well, you got that job because of white privilege. Just for instance, there's several other factors that could have played into you getting that job besides white privilege. Right. And so, like, when you think of, like, obviously I'm just talking about one instance. I'm not trying to scope over every single instance, but when I think of the way I got my first job, I went to college, I did everything, I went to school, I did my dad helped me get my first job, and I think of all the factors that led me to get that first job, and none of them I can peg on my race. Right. None of them. The college degree, the fact that my dad had the contacts to know the people to get me a job, and it's just one of those things where when you really break it down, because here's the thing, I have no problem saying that my dad helped me get my first job, because there's actually a statistic that says that 65% of all first jobs out of college come out of someone the family member knows. Right. And that's whether you believe in
nepotistic.
Exactly. Whether it's nepotism or not.
It could be a semi.
And not in a negative connotation.
I have no problem admitting that happens. But my thing is that every point in life that I've gone through, I felt like race was not a determining factor in how that portion of my life played out. That's me personally. Yeah. Of course. But I just don't see a single point in my life where I couldn't give you at least one other facet where race wasn't the only thing that dictated that point.
Yeah. And I want to kind of move this conversation, of course, to actually to Marquin. I want to because so you're gonna have the most experience in life, just because we'll say you're the oldest on the panel right now, and you have the most experience when it comes to just the life in general. Well, yeah. But here's the thing. What's unique about your age and where you are, since you are a millennial, but you're one of the first millennials, and you had more experience with those people in the 80s. Well, we were born around 94, 95, around there. So I want to hear what you have to say about how white privilege did or did not affect your life, or you saw it affect someone else's life.
Okay, so to his point. Yeah. That excuse me. That what he's saying is I'm sorry. What he's saying is I can't argue or debate against that. I agree with you about you getting to a place and it has nothing to do with being white in America, because you did come to you was born in an era where getting a job and as an adult after the year 2000, it wasn't about being white anymore. Right. It was about kind of who you know, who probably the
It's more merit based.
Yeah, like basically kind of like the most like the white part probably could have came in when it comes to like who owned the company that your dad know, or if it was ever a situation like that. But so I understand you. But when he's talking about how I grew up in the 80s, I'm gonna explain something real quick. Basically, I was raised with my great grandmother. I moved with her when I was 3 years old. She was 75 years old. She was one generation removed from slavery. Facts. So she was able to tell me stories that her grandmother told her about being an actual slave, about how I feel to have your hands shredded apart with blood and shit and cotton, like picking cotton. And I'm not even exaggerating. No, these are the stories that I heard as a child, like from a 75-year-old woman, and she taught me how to be she sent me into the world. And she didn't teach me to blame other people for my problem. Of course not. So let's get that understood. So white privilege has nothing to do with other people blaming, white people for their own problems, which a lot of people think that though. Yeah. A lot of people think that,
I agree with that.
It's white privilege, they get here, but no, it's not that. She didn't teach me like that. She taught me to go out there and be a man and go take care of what's mine.
Of course.
Which same values of yours.
Exactly.
Because guess what? She was she looked at it, she saw it like this. My great grandmother saw it as in she worked her way up in American society. That's what it is. She didn't see it from she saw it from a progression. Like this is how America is. This is the progression. My grandkids are going to school now, and she handed those values to me to a place where I even went to college, graduated college. The first, you know what I mean, like having her guide me. And to be unbiased towards no matter what. She never talked about race. She never blamed white people. She never blamed anybody. She was a fan of Donald Trump. Not that mean anything, but I'm just letting you know she didn't see life from a very racially sensationalized perspective. That's my perspective, though. That's from my point of view. That's how I was raised. Okay. But in my neighborhood, it wasn't like that. Okay. There was people on my block that have been caught up into so many different situations because of the fact some of them because of the fact of the color of their skin. Okay. Because of the fact that by being black, you have to be in this area of Dallas. That's just what it is. This area is always sexual
housing
discrimination, getting lost. So those are things that there was a few generations beyond you that they didn't have to worry about. Of course. But what I'm saying, that puts you on not to use this as a strike against you, but I'm just saying it puts certain people on a not necessarily an even playing field, but a little pedestal. You get a little, you know what I'm saying? Because I had to think about this. My dad didn't go to college. He didn't teach me anything about college. I had to go to college and discover how to study, to discover and train myself how to wake up every day because I didn't have anybody to guide me there. So it was rough. So if I wasn't strong enough, I would have dropped out. But because of whatever, do I blame it being black? No, I blame it being on, my circumstances.
Of course. Like, do you ever think that's used as an excuse
for
minorities that feel like they don't have the same opportunities? Like, from what you said.
I can speak on that. I do feel like.
And by the way, when I say that, I'm not trying to say that, like, it doesn't happen. I'm just asking as a question, do you think that ever is used as solely an excuse?
To answer your question, I do think it is used as an excuse. However, there are certain people that just don't have the same opportunity as a white person, a white male.
I was going to just say if there's a distinction between white privilege and just straight racism.
I think there is. I like to think so, but like
because a lot of white privilege is they're unconsciously there's a system in place that puts white people on a I won't say on a pedestal.
No, that's what I
you're right.
Right. So you unconsciously think that you unconsciously are adding to white privilege without even knowing because it's a system. Now with racism, you're consciously being racist. That's a racist.
And I think the difference is here.
White privilege and racism is two separate.
I think that's what I was getting to.
I think it's one of those things where when you deal with white privilege, what you're looking at is all other factors aside. race is the only thing that got you where you are. I think that's the deal with white privilege.
I mean, you have so many people in America. I mean, you have so many people from different perspectives. Every white person don't live the same life you live. So I can't even use that as a generalization to say, like, some people in Texas just, like, I used to go to school in East Texas. People in East Texas just live like East Texas people. Like, just straight up. It ain't about the... In that area anyway, it wasn't about who was white. It was just country folks. Good old down home folks. Everybody treated each other like that, and that's just the nature of that. So it wasn't a separation of who was privileged and who not. So that's just kind of a personal, from a personal perspective. Of course. And when you start adding in like just white privilege and what white privilege do for you being white, you have to understand. Like, I mean, man, if you come from a society that's built around like even an economic system that is shaped by your forefathers, what do you think? What do you think going to be for you? Right. That's just the reality of it. If I own a company now, which I have a company, I'm going to develop this company and make millions of dollars and hand it down to my children. And I want them to hand it down to their children. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you get to a place where people blaming you for that, that's just something that people have to deal with on their own. I don't think that, but there is social issues. But there are social issues that comes from white privilege. There are social issues that just come from being black in America. There are social issues that come from being black in Chicago. Like we talk about gun laws, all of that. Like, there's issues that we have to work out as a country.
Of course.
That's past privilege. That's past white. Right? Do you feel me?
Right. No, but here's the thing. Part of that I want to hit though. That's one of the pillars of white privilege. A lot that comes up. Why this conversation comes up a lot. No, not even that. I'm gonna get away from that. I'm talking about police bias, police brutality, everything like that.
That's just a fact. That's a fact of life. That's a fact in our American culture. That's just the way it is. There's no disputing that.
Right.
It is a fact that people on a lower socioeconomic level and at a lower poverty rate are going to commit more crime.
Yeah.
It's just a correlation. Fact. It's not that it just so happens, because yes, there were institutions that created it like that. Right. Mandatory minimums. Some people argue the war on drug, slavery, segregation. It hasn't even been 100 years. It hasn't even been 100 years since we got full right.
But that does not make them commit the crime.
No. I know. I'm not. That's not a justification. Yeah. I'm saying people argue these things. It just so happens though that mostly Hispanics and African Americans are within that lower socioeconomic group, and it is just a fact in every society in the world. Whether you're in the lowest class of India or the highest class, you're going to commit more crime in the lower class, where there's less money, where there's more poverty, less education, less resources. You're going to commit more crime. In America, the truth is there is less resources, less money, and less opportunity in African American and Hispanic culture. Right. That's just a fact of it.
Yeah, but then also, real quick, but also there's some type of accountability that comes in play. Just accountability when it comes to your own, you building. I heard earlier.
That's not white people's. When I say that, that's not white people's fault that it's like that. If they choose not to go receive higher education because they don't want to take out the loans because they have less opportunity than a guy who's in a Caucasian household who was going to have his parents pay for his stuff. That's a choice. If you choose not to go pursue that education because you don't want to take the loans, that's a choice. Now, were the odds stacked against you? Yes, and in a way, yes, because you did not have the same opportunity as Joe down the street who came from the white family who had the opportunity to have all of his loans and everything paid off by his family. Yes, but if you choose to sell drugs instead of going to college and taking out the loan, that is your choice.
Oh, and here's the thing. Here's my thing. I'm not going to sit here and act like as a white male, like there's been no point in my life that I've been gifted with some ability that I would have otherwise not been to. Like I'm not blind to the fact that like society is different for other people.
Let me ask you a question. Do you feel like you had a head start?
I think
no. Here's the thing. That's a great question. That's a great question.
But not because of your race, because of your socioeconomic status.
That's what I was going to say. Hold on, Brandon. I agree with what you say. I don't believe that I had a head start because of my race. I believe I had a head start because of the way I was raised. I was raised to work hard. I believe that my dad worked hard to make something for himself, and in turn made connections that made it easy for me to make myself. And that's why when it comes to this topic of white privilege, I feel like there's so many other factors that play into it, to where it's not just where he got was because he was white. There were so many other issues that played into it, and that's where I feel like my biggest opinion lies, is that everything that I've done in life is because someone in my past worked hard for what they had.
Here's the thing, Jace. I will say, but okay, I think we're all we're all not really understanding this as well, and I think no one's really said this about why Black and Hispanic communities are in where they are right now. You cannot say that there was not racist systems and racist.
I stated that.
No. But here's the thing. Whoa. Listen to this. Is that I understand that everything's a choice. You have a choice to do this. You have a choice to that. You have a choice to that. But here's the thing: when there's systems in place that we have not changed, it's because we think there is no racist system because the majority is white people, which you can't blame white people for it. But they were already put in place.
True.
And it's not been changed. That's the neglect.
What systems do you speak of?
Yeah.
Listen. When I say system, I'm talking about like housing discrimination, which is statistically a real thing.
That's not a black or white thing.
That's all credit. That'll have
historically.
That's socioeconomic.
I get that, but
historically,
because no one has a problem with Damian Lillard living in their neighborhood.
But guess what? Historically,
hold on.
One thing that doesn't have anything to do with that is the fact that I think one thing that white privilege is being able to have your own history and your own like culture that's represented. Like all of our like academia in any sorts is really based off of the European male perspective of history.
Which that is white privilege,
Like just
but that's because they did everything.
Well, hey, let's hear her out. Let's hear her out.
No,
let her finish.
Didn't discover it. He came out here.
No. Hey, guys.
Listen.
Let her finish. Let her finish.
Let her finish. At the end of the day, it wasn't a woman. The 50 presidents before, when you do a history of presidents, you don't have a woman because there hasn't been a woman. It's not that we don't.
No, that's not. Hey, let her finish. Let her finish. That's not her point. Go ahead.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But it has nothing to do with being a woman. But I'm saying, but the fact of the matter is, like, they're at most of the, historically speaking, forced implementation of their culture upon everyone else in the world is what we learn of today. We don't learn of everybody else's roots. So for me, I'm half Latina and I'm half white. What I learned in school is white culture. What I don't know is my native language as far as my dad's culture, because whenever you come to America and a lot of Latin cultures, a lot of families, they don't speak Spanish. They don't teach their children to speak Spanish. Why? Because it's frowned upon. Because you're in America, so you need to speak English. So these types of implementations, you're erasing other people's cultures from them. You're not even giving them opportunity to have something to hold on to and to be able to assimilate to. So the fact, or excuse me, not assimilate to, but you know what I'm saying? Like
We understand what you're saying.
So
you're making a good point.
Nowadays, like people who are of mixed race.
Well, Brandon, hold on.
The Spaniards did that to us.
Yeah, he's been holding his tongue. Brian, what you got to say?
People who speak Spanish did that to
Hold on.
Wait. Okay,
go ahead,
very great point. Okay. So you said as people who come over here as English second language, right? And you're saying it's destructing your culture per se, that you have to learn a different languages.
It's not learning a different language. It's being forced to not teach your children what your original language was because of.
Well, I don't think that's a thing. That's not a thing.
No. It definitely.
We don't force you to not teach your children their language.
In order to succeed in America, yes.
You need to know. I'm not going to say that. Well, hold on. Since it all came to a head, I'm not going to say that it's not going to be beneficial to you to learn English.
Well, no.
That's what everyone says. Like, if maybe I'm misunderstanding your point.
It's not about learning.
Let Brian.
Hold on. Maybe I'm misunderstanding your point too.
Hold on, just be patient.
Yeah, I'm patient with you, Brian.
Okay. So you're saying, you're just trying to change your culture. As America coming in here as a second language, as English a second language, you're saying it's destructing your culture, right? That's what you're saying?
It's not destructing the culture.
No.
Well, it's
wait.
Hold on, Brian.
Let Brian finish.
Yeah.
So you're basically changing the culture, right? Or is it Americanizing the culture?
That's a good question.
Assimilation has a tendency to force people to erase their culture from their children and and basically whenever they come here and they have their children, they bring their family and they continue to grow their family. They don't want their family to be known as wherever their country was they came from.
So
they want them
that's a part of immigration.
Well, no, wait.
Let me ask you this. This is
let Brian hit it.
Brian.
Let me hit the nail on the head here. Okay. So You said these communities per se. You know, it's like, okay, say like East Dallas or say like next to Northwest Highway in Harry Heights is predominantly Hispanic, right? Mm-hmm. There's Hispanic restaurants here, Hispanic restaurants there. As a white man, if I go into I work over there, okay? As a white man, if I go over there, I get frowned upon. I look like, what the fuck's this dude coming over here? It's kind of like that unwelcoming type thing. Do you think as an aspect as privilege, we're not going to say a higher privilege or a lower privilege, right? Do you think that's a privilege within itself?
That feeling that you have.
Mm-hmm. Well, not the feeling that you have, just the aspect of it.
That aspect of that experience that you had, that just the example that you gave.
I'm just saying generalization.
Right? Is basically what other like people that are of non-white feel when they are.
But that does not justify that.
I don't believe that as a culture we try to like skunk out any other culture. Right. I genuinely believe that we accept other cultures into our society. True. However, what I will say is when it comes to speaking Hispanic language...
That's false.
Look,
Spanish.
Like I said, tell me if I'm wrong. What I'm saying is, like, I believe that we accept other cultures into our society.
For the most part.
To an extent.
For the most part.
And basically, I think that no matter what in America, we have to find a way to start just seeing each other as Americans. Mm-hmm. And eventually, if we're going to be here together. Like, if we're going to be here together, we're going to all have to do it together. If I'm going to have to wake up every day and get in my car and drive through traffic next to you after you get out your bed, like, and I'm in my car and you're in your car, and we have to go to these buildings and go up to these elevators together. We have to go to these grocery stores together. Our children, they have to go to school together. They go to Six Flags together. Everything that you think of in America, what you think of our society, we have to do it together. And despite if you like it or if you're not, or who feel like they have the most privilege in society, we all have to figure out a way to make it work best for all of us. Mm-hmm. Like, no matter what, you know what I mean? Like, if you own the privilege now, even if you're a rich black person in America now, you ride private jets everywhere you have to go, that's a sense of privilege. That's a sense of American privilege. That's what rich people do. So maybe you should take it upon yourself and be accountable for what you do, and maybe you can use that privilege to do right and to do better by people.
That's
no matter if you're white or black and you have privilege. And I think that's the issue. We allow people to get in these political positions and they throw it around and they take advantage of those right privileges by those good old boy systems. Yeah. And that's what caused the younger generations in society to think that it's all screwed up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But now it's a time where y'all young people are getting together. And we all, as millennials, I'm an older millennial, but we all getting together and starting to say, okay, that way was the old way. It was the wrong way. So now if you do have white privilege, if the cop pull you over and let you go, you have to teach us, you have to let him know. Like, hey, man, you know what? I feel you, but if you feel like I did a crime, let's just be fair about it. Sometimes you have to be the first person to say something if you feel like it's wrong. So that way you won't keep going with it. You won't take advantage of it. Because if I give you a good old boy wink wink, and something is going on, we keeping it going, man.
It's not going to stop anything.
It's not going to stay. So if you do, if the privilege belongs to, my point is this, really. If the privilege belongs to you, do right by people and do right with it.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with everything that you just said. I think that everybody has to take that sense of responsibility in their own households, just because that was what was done back then. And I do believe that it was white privilege. I mean, it's proven that there is white privilege. African-American female next to a Caucasian white female or male does not have the same opportunities. And that is just from its facts. Mm-hmm. And so we all should take our different sense of responsibility in these different positions, just like he said. We have to vote the right people in these positions. Yeah. Do the right thing. Everybody has to do the right thing, and that's on both sides. So that's just my perspective of it. I could go further into it, but we have that responsibility. Like, we are the change at this point because we know what is wrong and we know what's right. Agreed. So we're all people. At the end of the day, we need to come together and do what is right. Mm-hmm. And that's all I have to say about that. Mm-hmm.
I mean, on the same topic, like I said it, here's the thing, is like, even though I felt like I've never received like a gratitude that is solely because of my race, like, we have to understand that there are things that we're not going to specifically, explicitly understand that are given to us as people. And it's one of those things where we need to take those privileges that we're given, whether it's because of our race or because of our socioeconomic status, like we've talked about a lot, and realize that there's people that don't have those same privileges. Like, that's the thing here is that regardless of what you take, whether it's race or this or that or the other, that everyone should have that same privilege. If they're in the same place in life, if they've made the same decisions, no one should be discriminated against. And that's what it boils down to, is whether you're black, white, Asian, whatever socioeconomic status you're in. If you do what's right, you're going to get the response as you're doing what's right. And I think that's what it is. And so if you are blessed with potentially maybe a perspective that you maybe are gifted with a privilege, you need to make sure that you use that privilege to be able to like make sure that other people keep that.
Okay, Brandon.
In my opinion, I think white privilege is real in situations. I don't think it's across the board. I personally, from my experience living in different places, I think I've gotten jobs places because of the fact that I was African American. I was the only African American in one of my departments I worked, and I think there were about 1,200 applicants. They told me I was one of 6 that was chosen. I know for a fact there were other applicants who went and applied for the same position and were probably just as qualified as me, but they need diversity. Mm-hmm. And I think, literally, I believe in my heart that the sergeant, the chief, whoever came together on that board said, hey, we came down to these 3 guys, and we got one this way, and they're pretty much even. And I think they chose me too because I'm diverse. I bring diversity to the table. Mm-hmm. I bring a different race to the table. There was only 2 African Americans in the whole department, including myself. They needed more African Americans. In that situation, that was black privilege in a way. I would not have gotten that job if I was not diverse, I feel. The other guy had more experience than me. Educationally, we were the same age, but he had more experience, but I brought more diversity to the department. And that helped. That's what they needed. They have federal guidelines that go towards that. And that's my opinion. It's not a generalized overall thing that white privilege just prevents anything. The chief of police in Dallas is a black female.
Right.
Chief of police in Portland is a black female.
Right.
Down south, up north, there's a lot of it. It's
right.
just where you are, and it just depends on the situation. It's not an overall thing that affects every part of life where you cannot achieve.
Right.
It does not hold people down anymore.
Right.
Back in the day, it did.
Right.
Today, it does not.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's my opinion.
Brian?
Well, I'm going to agree with him and everybody else. But, my perspective on it is mainly what he said is we're all Americans. And, again, what he said is different, where you're at. Because when you look at Chicago, look at Dallas right now. Well, of course, Mary Rawlings is the only white person on the whole panel. Y'all do realize that, right? Yeah. DISD is just, it's full, it's all black people, right? So
Hispanics.
Well, Hispanics is as well, exactly. So my thing is that like he said, there's no top out. You can't cap on the reason why if you're black, there's no like cap of how much you can do and how much you can achieve. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's a social affirmative action privilege. Yes, if you're into you were born in the hood, you're not gonna get as much privilege as a dude born in the suburbs, right? Mm-hmm. But again, that's there's not saying that there's not black people in those suburbs as well that get that same privilege, just like he was saying. And the thing is with that is we just honestly I don't care. I get real emotional about this because it really pisses me off that we are as a country and we are divided and we look at each other as race like, oh man, fuck this guy, or sorry, screw this guy, he probably thinks different than me. I'm like, nah, man, if you're cool with me and I'm cool with you, I don't care what race you are. I mean, we can look like it literally. Point the camera at him real quick. Point the camera at him. You would think that we never would kick it or be cool with each other or anything.
I think he's pretty cool.
Yeah,
he's alright.
Yeah, whatever. But and that's the thing, and that we should break that stereotype because realistically, I'm cool with everybody. If you're cool with me, cool with me. But on top of that, don't be suspect. Don't be don't try to engage violence or anything because if you step on my toes, I'm step on your toes. That's just the way it is.
That's the Texas in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Texas. Wow.
All right, Kirby. This is the last remarks.
I would like to start by saying I think that we have definitely made quite a bit of progress in like just having a lot of mixed people race and like just this modern generation being able to have the internet, like connect with other people, you can relate to them a little better. But I do think that white privilege is still quite prevalent and it does impact the everyday life. I think that when you have realizations that, you know, white people created the like term Hispanic in 1970 by the U.S. government just to separate what's actually truly of white descendants, because Latinos are technically white descendants. If there's only 3 races, it's Asian, it's black, and it's white. But they have been, you know, sectioned off and quoted as just a big group of people that are not really the same thing as white people. So that's one evidence. Also, I mean, indigenous people here in America, they don't have privileges for their homeland, and white people claim, you know, our whole nation as their homeland, which I'm not quite sure that aligns with what I know to be true. So I do think that once again we are making progress because, you know, we are, you know, blending our cultures, and, you know, we do have access to people across the planet from us, which is really dope. So we're able to relate to people because really I think everybody is the same and has the same intention of doing good unto others and really helping each other and living the best world we can, because I think this world it has the capability to be the oasis that we dream of it to be. But we do have a lot of steps to get there, and there's a lot of things that I think at first takes acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is going to be the biggest part in really solving, I think, whatever privilege is, because we all can truly say like hard work will always, you know, accomplish whatever your goal is. But, you know, if you only have 2, you know, pitfalls in front of you instead of like a whole, you know, line of things to go over, I think it's a significant difference to get to your achievement. So that's just my opinion. I think we have lots of work to go.
Awesome. I mean, you know, and I want to just take a quick second for us, just everyone on this panel, really just kind of look at each other. Look at this panel.
Yeah.
This would never, ever happen 50 years ago.
No.
This would never, ever happen. Our grandparents would have never done this. Oh, you know, maybe, but the general population, they wouldn't have done this. And so I feel like our strength as a country does not come from our military. It doesn't come from our economic powerhouse. It doesn't come from our universities. It doesn't come from our laws. It comes from people from every wakes of just every aspect of life. Gender, religion, cultures, anything like that.
Right.
Coming together and being under what? American flag. Understanding each other as one, as a family. So that's why I want to take away and kind of outro this is, regardless if white privilege is real or not, we're a family, and we need to understand where our strength comes from, and that comes from someone who doesn't look like you but believes that you're a brother or a sister. So at the end of the day, I just like to say it's community, it's brotherhood, it's brothership, you know, womanship, sisterhood, and I would just like to say we're gonna definitely have a part 2, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Thanks for watching, y'all, and make sure you subscribe to us on our page, but also follow us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at TDTV Official. And if you want a future topic discussed, or you just want to be a guest on the next show, make sure you email us at tdtvofficial@gmail.com, and I will catch y'all on the flip side. We out.